Hi, my name is Jack Pham and I work at WestEd along with Ayeli Dodu and Teresa Alonso. In today's video, I will be showing you how to create what we call a stationary placemat. A placemat is a powerful tool that can help you organize as well as effectively facilitate content in your meetings. We find that it is also a practical tool for participants to use to help them stay more focused and engaged in the learning process. Because the nature of the placemat is very customizable and very flexible. You can adapt it to any type of meetings that you are planning to host, whether it be a training session, professional development, or a coaching session. The possibilities are endless. And so today I'll be showing you how to create one. So let's get started. All right, so I am showing you a sample placemat that I created for one of our projects here at WestEd called the School Leadership Team Network. All right, and so typically when creating a placemat, I would either use Microsoft Word or Adobe InDesign. So it really depends on what I'm trying to create, and it is completely up to you. When building a placemat, it is really important that we have both the facilitator guide as well as the agenda. As you can see here on this agenda, we have all of these items laid out. And from that, we were able to build the placemat because each of these elements on the placemat, as you can see, they all correlate to an activity or an item on the facilitator guide or the agenda. And so it's really important that we have both the agenda and the facilitator guide in order to build an effective placemat. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the digital placemat. What you're looking at right now is a template for the digital placemat. As you can see, it's very similar to the paper version that I showed you earlier, which is this one. So each of these boxes here represent an item on your agenda. And now you don't have to follow, these shapes. They're just there as placeholders for you to think about as you begin to build your placemat based on your agenda and your facilitator guide. Also, if you pay attention to these numbers here, the reason they're there is because as opposed, in contrast to the paper placemat, when you are able to facilitate it in person, when someone is lost or when you need to bring attention, the group's attention to a certain box or certain element on the placemat, it's easier for you to do so in person. But in an online virtual environment, it's pretty difficult to do so. And so these numbers help you to solve for that problem. For example, when you want the group to take a look at the agenda, you can say, oh, everyone please look at box number 1. We're going to look at the agenda. Or everyone please look at box number 4. We're going to take a look at the data that we're working on right now. Okay, so now let's take a look at some of the sample placemat that I created. Okay, so here's one. This is a sample digital placemat that I created for the School Leadership Team Network. I showed you earlier the paper version, but now it is in a digital version. As you can see, as you may have noticed, that it doesn't really follow the template. But then again, the point of the placemat is that it's really flexible and it's customizable, and it can be whatever that you want it to be, according to how you're planning your meeting. But you can see some of the elements still remains are the numbers. Like I said earlier, it really helps you facilitate and bring attention to a certain box, a certain item where it might be harder to do so online. And the next one next one here, as you may have noticed that this one follows the template more closely. We have the logo, the collaboration space, the agenda, the norms, and the other items associated with the agenda. And so as you can see, you can make it however you want to make it, as long as it fits your need and it fits what you want to do with it. Actually, before we get started taking a look at the digital placemat, I want to bring your attention to this website. It's a very handy website that I use a whole lot when creating the placemat. It's called PDF to PNG. Typically, when I create documents or elements for the placemat, I would create them as a PDF, and then I would upload the PDF to this website so that it converts it to a PNG file so that I can easily manipulate it. I will walk you through how to do that in a little bit. Okay, so now let's get started with actually creating a digital placemat. I'm just gonna work off of the template to make it easier, but like I said, it's very customizable. You can do it however you want. So the first thing first, you want to add in your logo. If it's your school, then you just upload your logo here. That way it makes it your own. So for this particular example, I have a logo here ready. So I'm just gonna copy, delete this, and paste the logo in to where the placeholder was. You can arrange however you want. I like to keep things a little bit even on both sides as much as I can. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Next is a link to your collaboration space. Here I just have a Padlet link as a placeholder, but you can absolutely put in anything that you want in terms of collaboration space. And next we have the agenda. This one can be a little bit tricky, but it comes back to this website that I showed you earlier. Since the agenda I created was a PDF, in order for me to plug it into this template, I would need to convert it into a PNG file. And to do so, all you need to do is go to this link that I showed you earlier, hit upload files, and then locate your agenda. This is the agenda PDF that I have here. All you need to hit open, and then it will automatically does this thing. You will hit download. Once you hit download, just hit save. Now remember, it will become a zip file. So what you need to do is unzip it. So once you unzip it, it will be in your download. And what you need to do is go back to the digital placemat where it says insert agenda here. All you need to do is hit delete. Oh, sorry, I just need to delete the agenda, not the number. Okay. So now, since I've deleted it, I can now add the agenda picture. Oop. So if you notice that once you put it in, it's a little bit big. So what you can do is just resize it. Yep. And also when you notice that there are a lot of white spaces around this agenda, um, to be able to make it bigger and to save a little bit of space, what you can do is right click, hit crop image, and then you just simply pull each side in to cut out some of that white space. Make sure you're not cutting off any of the actual agenda document itself. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So now it will fit into the space here for your agenda. So I just moved the number one out for a little bit so that I can work on. So you can stretch this out. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And I like to add border so that it looks a little bit nicer. So to add border to a picture, you would go up to here. This is where it says border weight. I like to just pick one, and then it'll create a border around your agenda, which makes it look a lot nicer. Um, so for me, in the norms are typically always there, but you can always take it out and add something else to it if you would like to. In this case, I want to stretch the agenda out a little bit. So what I'm doing is just going to resize the norms box. And then I'm just going to stretch the agenda out a little bit. So that way it's a little bit easier to see and read. And okay, and so back to this number one here. I need to place it at the bottom because I can't really put it anywhere up on top here, and so I'm just going to drag it um, to the bottom. But before you do that, you need to do something first. You need to right click and choose order, hit bring to front. That way when you place it onto the picture, it will be on top of the picture. If you didn't do that, it will just kind of stay in the back of the picture and it won't show itself. All right, so before we move on to the next item, what you need to do is group the agenda and this number together. If you don't group them together, when you move the agenda, the number one stays. So if you move number one, then the agenda stays. So um, what you need to do is for them to be able to move together, just in case you need to reorganize or rearrange it, that you don't have to move, two things at the same at once. You just need to move one thing. So to do that, first, if you're on a PC, you would hold down your control button, hold it down, click on the agenda. While holding down control still, click number one. And if you're on a Mac, you would do the same, but you will hold down the command button. So you hit command, hit then click on the agenda, and then click number one. What you need to do, you can let go of the command or control button, right click on the agenda, and select group. Now number one and the agenda are grouped together. So now you can move, oops, sorry. Now you can move them together. It makes everything a lot easier. After we're done with the agenda, we move on to the norms. Um, Typically, when we are uh, hosting meetings and coming up with an agenda, we always have norms in there. And so, as you can see, in the outcomes, it says review norms. And so we don't have to do anything else. We're just going to leave this box here for either the participant to fill in the norms, or they already have a pre-established norms that they can just copy and paste in, and that's up to them. Okay, so that wraps up the norms part. Let's move on to the next item that we have. Okay, as you notice on the agenda, the warm-up questions and joiner, we don't have to put into a placemat because it is just a warm-up or like opening activity that they do, and so we don't need to put that into the placemat. But the next item that needs to go into the placemat is a quick update using data regarding communication. So what I'm going to do is change this header here to quick update. Great. So once you have that there, I was given the content to put into this box. And so I'm just going to copy the data or the content that I have. And what I'm going to do is just paste it right into here. Okay, that looks good. And on top of this, in addition to this, I was given a picture or a sample of a data log for the teachers to take a look and to kind of think about how they capture data. And so I will need to put that into this box. So when I add the picture in, you can see it doesn't really fit into the box. So what I need to do is resize this shape. And to do that, all you need to do is click it and just, resize it for now. You can always change it later. So that's what I did. I'm going to resize that. And then I'm going to resize this box also. So it's going to stretch it out. Oops, excuse me. Okay. As you can see, there are two layouts to this element. One is the actual box itself, and one is the text box. So you need to make sure that you are grabbing both of them when you are stretching them. Okay. So that looks great. Okay, so next thing on the list is we have the spring break notice template. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put into this box this shape here, but actually don't want to use this shape because it is a little bit boring. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete it and replace it with something else. So first, before I do anything, I'm just gonna move this number 4 out, so that way I don't accidentally delete it too. And then I'm gonna delete this box, this shape, I mean. So now we have a blank space. What I want to do is actually put the content for the spring break notice template onto notepad picture because it looks a little bit fun. So what I'm gonna do is go on online. I did earlier was I went online and look for a notepad picture, and what I'm gonna do is just gonna copy and paste it into my placemat. As you place, and then you just kind of arrange it in a way where it works, where it looks good. I think right there it looks good. Uh, Next thing you want to do is you see how it's taking up a little bit of this shape here. You can just resize that shape by, I'm just gonna resize this so that it frees up a little bit of space for me to work on. And next you want to select all of this and then resize it down. I'm just gonna resize it all the way down so that I have a little more space to work with. And I'm just gonna put this shape back to where it was. This picture, I mean. And that looks pretty good. And so you see this number 4 here. Remember what we did earlier with the agenda. You need to right click it, go to order, bring to front. That way you can drag it back into this box and it'll stay on top. And you can see it's a little bit hard to see. So you can absolutely just change the color of the text. I think I'm just gonna put white because it pops out a little bit more. And next is I have a text. I have the content. So all I need to do is so you can't really write on a picture. So what you need to do is go up here to insert, choose text box. And what you want to do is just pretty much draw a text box onto this picture. Make sure everything's kind of lines up with the picture, so it's say the same. Great, now you have a text box that you can write on top. Okay, so now I actually have the content ready for it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna copy and paste it in. This is what it looks like. See, spring break notice template, and this is the direction that I was given, and this is the actual template or the content, and that looks pretty good. So the next step you need to do again is hold down Control and then select all of this. You see how it will select all of the elements within this shape or this picture. Then you would right click, select group. So that way, when you move it, it will go together. It'll save you a lot of headache later on. Great, so that looks pretty good. Okay, so next we have another item. Here is the communicate district message regarding devices. So what you want to do, you see how we have this space here. We just go ahead and select everything for shape number 5, and you would stretch it back out to kind of fill in that space and give you a little bit more room to work with. So I need to retitle this box to communicate district message regarding devices. So I'm just going to do this is, communicate district message regarding devices. Great. So I got my title, and now all I need to do is fill in the content. So I already have the content ready. All I need to do is paste. So now, as you can see, that it doesn't look very good because there's a lot of spaces here. So what you can do is just make this a little bit bigger. Again, this is completely up to you. You don't have to follow this, but I just want to make things just kind of fill the blank space. And it's still a lot of space, so what I'm going to do, excuse me. So what I'm going to do is select this shape here. And just kind of bring it down a little bit to kind of, get rid of a lot of that space. And yeah, that looks pretty good. And next, I'm going to move this number here, so make sure it's not covering anything. And yep, so there we have it. And what you can do with this space is just stretch this out. Since it's a picture, you can stretch it out to fill space a little bit. Yep. And maybe just bring this down. Great. And I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so next is I want to change the color of this shape. What you can do is notice how there are two elements to this box. One is the actual shape itself, and two, it is the text box on top. See, this is the text box and this is the shape. So what you want to do is actually just recolor the shape itself rather than the text box. So what you need to do is you see how I made the text box smaller? That way I can grab the box, the actual shape at the bottom in order to fill in the color. So once you are able to select the shape, go ahead and go to fill color. I'm going to just choose a deeper red. And that looks pretty good. And I want the outline to be another deep red also so that it pops and it matches the logo. So while you're still selecting that shape, go ahead and border weight, okay, is at 1px. Um, go to border color and choose a deep red. Okay, that looks pretty good. So next you need to move the text box back. So just go ahead and select this text box here and you hit that resize. Great. And that looks pretty good. And so for the sake of time, we're just gonna go through the first, 4 items for this particular placemat. But the concept is the same. Where if you need to create more, you just select another. You just go down to another page, and then recreate the elements or the shapes or the picture that you want to add in order to work on these remaining items here. And that's pretty much it on how to create a digital placemat. If you have any questions, please go ahead and reach out to me, and I'll try my best to help you.